Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Butler.
And I'm Mike Field.
And welcome to Forgotten Cinema Lead Up. Each episode, we highlight a film from a popular series and follow it all the way to its most recent release. We'll discuss what we love about the movie or maybe don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it, even the not so good ones. Let's get into it.
What's going on?
Nothing. I was just chilling in Germania, commanding my troops like I do, doing the emperor proud, emperor daddy. Did
you say daddy?
Emperor daddy. And
oh boy,
I did a good job. He was dying. He was like, yo, listen, would you like to be a temporary emperor? And then give
Caesar.
Temporary Caesar, and then give the empire back to its people in the Senate. And turns out Emperor Daddy's real son didn't like that so much, snuffed out the emperor, became Caesar, killed my wife and kids, set me to be killed. I ended up becoming a slave, then becoming a gladiator, and then, shaking up the system, because that's what I do.
All right. That's right. For our Forgotten Cinema lead-up episode, we are doing the movie Gladiator, because Mike and I will be watching, and hopefully we're going to have a guest who's watching it with us and do the episode with us. We're going to be watching Gladiator 2, which comes out a couple weeks from when we record this. I'm not sure when this is coming out per se. So
I think I'll still have it come out next week.
Okay.
Like the week before it comes out. Yeah.
So we wanted to, we both have seen this film. I believe we both have positive vibes from this film, but we'll get into it. We'll do a little bit of our facts and our viewing notes and our return notes. I have not seen this film in quite a long time, so it was good to go back.
Me neither,
kind of see it through a different lens, the lens of, for our podcast kind of thing, like just kind of like scrutinizing it a little bit more, not just falling in love with everything, like probably I did the first time. So let's get into it. Gladiator has a runtime of 155 minutes. We watched the theatrical cut. I'm assuming, Butler, you watched the theatrical cut as well, right?
I assume I did. It's been so long since I've watched the movie. I wouldn't know if I didn't.
The extended is like it's close to 3 hours. You probably would have known it.
Oh no, yeah, mine was like 2:35.
Yeah. This is rated R. Production budget of $103 million. It came out on my birthday, May 5th, 2000. I turned 25. Oh, to go back. Opening weekend, it did 34.8 million. Domestic, 187.7 million. International, 277.8 million, which is not surprising for a worldwide total of $465.5 million. And I would suspect that the sequel is going to do very well, primarily because it's Gladiator. And I think it's going to get that Denzel crowd. But
it's got that secret sauce. That's right.
He is awesome. We love him. So, more power to it. Production company was DreamWorks Pictures, Universal Pictures, Scott Free Productions, and Red Wagon Entertainment. Distributed by DreamWorks Distribution in North America. And it was internationally distributed by Universal Pictures through United International Pictures. Funny thing about this, Butler, is I watched this on Paramount Plus.
I was going to say, why am I watching this on Paramount? Because originally I clicked right on Peacock, and I was like,
I'm sure it's somewhere. I'm sure there's maybe there's a home video distribution deal that they made. I mean, who knows?
It must be, especially this close to Gladiator 2. You'd think you'd want it on your platform to get more eyeballs on there.
If DreamWorks, Universal would be on Peacock, right? You would think, right?
Yeah, that's where I checked first.
Well, DreamWorks is a shingle with another company, though. It's not its own company. I don't know where it's set up. It might be set up with Paramount.
No, DreamWorks is set up with Universal.
Okay, well, there you go then. I mean, what do we know? So I said this came out on the 5th of May, the week before, April 28th. You had a wide release of The Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas, Frequency, which I am a big fan of, Where the Heart Is, and then a limited release of The Big Kahuna. Yeah, we both like Frequency.
Yes.
It's on our list too, right?
It is,
the main list for the main show. Yeah. The 5th only had one wide release against Gladiator. That was I Dreamed of Africa. And then the week after, May 12th, you had a wide release of Battlefield Earth, Screwed, Center Stage, and Held Up, and a limited release of Hamlet. That's the Hamlet starring Ethan Hawke. It's a modern day Hamlet. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Hamlet. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple different versions of Hamlet. So Battlefield Earth, I unfortunately have seen. Yeah.
Oh, you've actually seen it? I've only ever seen clips of Battlefield Earth. I never watched
Animals. I've seen it. I was so I was working at the Fourplex at the time. It was in theater too. So I watched it in two.
It does not surprise me it went to the Fourplex.
Of course not. Well, we get that crap. This film was directed by Ridley Scott, who was nominated for an Oscar for this film. Actually, you know what? I'll go through it as I go through the names. He's also been nominated for The Martians, Thelma and Louise, and Black Hawk Down. He has never won one, and I think he expected to win one for Gladiator. And I would say you could make a case that he should have won for Gladiator. But of course he did not. Story and screenplay credit go to David Franzoni. He was also a producer. But then it was rewritten by John Logan. And then I believe it was rewritten after that by William Nicholson. They all got nominated for Best Writing because they got nominated for Oscars. Franzoni wrote King Arthur, Amistad, and Jumpin' Jack Flash. Logan has been nominated for a couple Oscars for Hugo and The Aviator, and he also wrote Skyfall, a Butler fave. And then Nicholson
and King Arthur is an episode we did.
We did. That's right. I forgot about that. Nicholson has won an Oscar, nominated for an Oscar for Shadowlands. He also wrote Unbroken and Elizabeth, the Golden Age. Cinematographer was John Matheson. Yes, he was nominated as well in this movie. He's also nominated for The Phantom of the Opera. He also did Logan and The Man from U.N.C.L.E., another episode we did. I believe that was our first season 5 episode.
That was our audience choice. Yep.
Yes. Yep. Composer was Lisa Gerrard and Hans Zimmer. Now, Zimmer was nominated for Best Score, but Gerrard wasn't because of some kind of Academy Award, some kind of rule that the reason why she couldn't get nominated along with Zimmer, which kind of caused a problem, which, I mean, I don't know what the issue was, but come on. Gerrard's done Whale Rider, The Insider, and Ferrari. And Zimmer has been nominated 12 times. He's won twice for The Lion King, the original, not the remake, and Dune Part 1. Edited by Pietro Scalia, who was also nominated for an Oscar for editing in this movie. He's won 2 Oscars for JFK and Black Hawk Down and nominated for Good Will Hunting. And then you had our 3 producers. Well, there are more, but these are the 3 that stuck out: are Franzoni, Branko Lustig, and Douglas Wick. Franzoni actually also produced Gladiator 2. Lustig has won an Oscar for producing Schindler's List because that won Best Picture. He's also done The Peacemaker and Kingdom of Heaven. And Wick has done Working Girl, which he got an Oscar nod, and he did the 2013 Great Gatsby film. This film stars Russell Crowe, but guess what? He won the Oscar for this film for Best Acting, which I think we should talk about a little bit, because even he himself said he didn't think he deserved the Oscar. So I'm curious. I want to get your thoughts on that. He plays Maximus. He's nominated for 2 other Oscars: A Beautiful Mind, The Insider, which Butler has not seen, so he put it on the list for our upcoming season, and LA Confidential, which I love. Joaquin Phoenix was also nominated in this movie. He plays Commodus. He is the bad guy. He won an Oscar for Joker, nominated for The Master and Walk the Line. Connie Nielsen as Lucilla. How do they say in this movie? Lucilla. She is in Wonder Woman, 1 Hour Photo, and Basic. Oliver Reed as Proximo from Burnt Offerings. This episode we did, one of our first Forgotten Horror seasons, if not the first, right?
1 or 2. Yeah, it was close.
Yeah. The Brood and Oliver. Richard Harris as Marcus Aurelius, nominated for The Field, The Sporting Life. He was also the original Dumbledore in Harry Potter's 1 and 2. And then our senators, David Schofield as Falco. He's in the Pirates of the Caribbean series. He's also in American Werewolf in London. He played Dart Player. Remember, we had that conversation during that episode not for Forgotten Horror 5. He's also in Valkyrie. Derek Jacobi as Gracchus from Gosford Park, Dead Again, and the 2017 Murder on the Orient Express.
I believe he was also the Master before the Master remembered he was the Master in the episode of Doctor Who.
There you go. Little Doctor Who for all you Doctor Who nerds out there. I'm sure if my wife's listening to this episode, she's smiling. John Shrapnel as Gaius from Troy and Notting Hill. And then you have some of the, let's get to some of the other gladiators. Djimon Hounsou as Juba, he seems to be in every big film, just in every big film he's in. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Or if he's not in one of the first ones, he'll be in there somewhere.
He pops in. He's even in films. He's even in the Marvel series as 2 different people, right? Isn't he in 2 different characters?
Is he? I don't remember if he's in
the first Galaxy, but then I thought he's in something else.
Oh, that's right. You're right. He is in twice, and I can't remember what the other thing is, but you're right, because I remember an article was talking about that.
Yeah. He's nominated for 2 Oscars, Blood Diamond and In America, and he's also an Amistad and a movie we did in our very first season, The Legend of Tarzan. Tomas Arama as Quintus. He is actually Quintus is not one of the gladiators. He's the guy that kind of turns his back on our boy Maximus when it's kind of, I don't know why Quintus got like a heroic arc going on there. Yeah, Born Supremacy, Tombstone, and the TV show The New Pope. Tommy Flanagan as Cicero from Braveheart and Sons of Anarchy. I'm sure people recognized him in this movie. And then Lucius, the young kid, is played by Spencer Treat Clark. He's from the TV show Animal Kingdom and Mr. Groover. But Spencer Treat Clark does not play Lucius in in Gladiator 2, obviously, because Gladiator 2 follows Lucius's story. That's actually played by Paul Mescal, right? Is that how you say his last name? Mescal?
Yep. That's how I've been pronouncing it.
You know what's funny is I knew there was watching this film because I know we were watching Gladiator 2. I was like, oh, it's a sequel. I don't know. I really didn't bother to look up what it was a sequel for. Like, I didn't put 2 and 2 together. I wasn't looking. I was like, well, Crow's not in it. What's it going to be about? And then when I started doing this, I started reading the notes. Like, I didn't realize that it was Lucius's story. And I didn't realize that Connie Nielsen's in that. And even some of the Gracchus, I believe, is in this film, and Falco. I don't know if Falco's in it. I know Gracchus is in it. So I know even some of the senators are in it. So there are some people that are being carried over from the first film, which I think is pretty cool. It's a nice way to connect it. So I'll be interested to see how that plays out, and just kind of like when we watch it. So Mike, I talked about how this is good to revisit it. When was the last time you actually sat down and watched this film in its totality?
In its entirety? At least probably 10 years ago, probably. Okay. I mean, I love this film, but for some reason, I don't own this film on Blu-ray. I have the DVD at my parents' house, or they have the DVD. So I used to watch it a lot. I do love this, or back then I loved this film. Yeah, it was nice to go back to it and watch it again. But kind of like what you said, it was like, full disclosure, I still love this film. It's still one of my favorite films, I think. But there are moments where I'm just like, or like a couple of moments like filmmaking wise where I'm like, and a couple of moments dialogue wise where I'm like, So it's like, and for the first time, because I've been living with that fact in my head, when Proximus dies, because the actor died. Yeah, when he died in real life, they digitally put him in the movie for his last scene. Yep. And when I was, originally watching, I was like, I could never tell. And this time I was like, oh, wait. Yeah, I can. Absolutely tell. But you know what? It doesn't look any worse than what they're doing 20 years later.
Well, it looks the same like they did in Titanic when they put DiCaprio and Winslet's faces on the two guys. Remember the scene where they're running down the hallway and the water's flooding and the lights are flashing. Right. They did the same thing. They mapped their faces on 2 stunt actors. So they were doing it back then.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess let's go into that then. Let's go into the look of the film, right? And then we'll get into the other stuff. I don't want to just go negative and positive. I'd rather just go different segments of the film.
All right.
So the look of the film, I think my biggest takeaway, and you kind of talk about it a little bit, is it's through no fault of the movie and through no fault of the time period. I don't know if the effects hold up that great. I mean, back in 2000, we probably loved it. We didn't notice it, but I think because stuff has gotten so much better now. And I think I'm more referencing like the big grandiose, the big picture scenes, the big Coliseum, not in general, when like that final shot is a good shot. Is a nice shot when it pulls up and you see Rome.
Right.
I think it's more so when people are in the foreground and you see the background behind them and it kind of stands out a little more. What did you think of the effects of the movie, the digital mats?
I mean, like you said, they're of the time, so I didn't really mind them that much. I will like what I loved was that there was so much stuff that was actually there. And that's what I appreciate the most, because you don't get that anymore unless it's a Ridley Scott film, is that grandiose, big, epic kind of picture. Like when they're fighting in Germania and he's going through the troops, those people are there, though. The wood is really set up. They're actually extras fighting. And I think that's really awesome and really pulls you into a film. And it's something that even today, while films and effects look really great when you have big battles, if it's digital, you really can still tell.
Sure.
And I think the fact that these were real actors on set really worked for me. So the digital mats and stuff like that didn't really bother me as much. My complaints were more the cinematography, which, like you said, was of the time. But like the Germania battle, when it goes into slow motion, but it's not really slow motion. And it's like, I love the music and the thought behind it. But just the way the slow motion works and the way the camera captured it, I was just like, oh, this is super early 2000s, kind of like that would not play anymore like today. It's like it's not great with modern, when you have like modern sensibilities, kind of like when you're watching it. It's kind of like,
Well, when the slow motion montage during the battle scene in Germania, and even the music made me feel like I was watching the end of a movie. Like it just felt like I was watching the end of like a final battle. But then I realized, okay, well, if that wasn't the case, and that's the music they chose, and my next note's going to mean nothing, and I'm looking too deep into the film. But then I thought maybe that slow motion montage and the music, it was more like the end of our hero's good life, like the end of the last, of our hero. And like, because obviously after that, it's kind of all downhill for Maximus,
his final battle.
Yeah. But now again, Ridley Scott might be like, no, that's not what he did, so I don't want to, that I was trying to justify and rationalize why I felt that way. But if that's not the case, well, then that's not the case.
Yeah. Ridley Scott's got no filter anymore in interviews. He'd tell you to F right off. He'd be like, you're a moron. You're wrong.
When they get to Germania, Germania doesn't have a lot of the digital mat stuff. When they get to Rome, when they get to the Colosseum and they kind of do that overview shot, you see all the digital people walking around, the same thing they did in Titanic.
Right.
Because they're not going to get millions of people to sit. And plus the Colosseum itself was built bigger than the original Colosseum because it was too small. So they actually rebuilt kind of half of the Colosseum, but they built it bigger. But so what I think my digital mat concern, or my question, my query is from when they get to Rome. That's when you kind of see it more. But there's no other way to do it. There's no other way to get that done. So I understand
you're not
why
filming
it's like
in
that.
Italy in the Colosseum the way it is now. Yeah.
Well, no, they were shooting on sound stages in London. So no, I get it. Yeah. What did you think about? The cinematography was obviously not. He was nominated for an Oscar, Matheson.
Yeah, like other than that, the cinematography is great. The lighting, the look of the film, like the coloring, like I have it gold here, but like everything's got this gold hue. For the most part, there's a little bit of gold in almost everything, which I really like.
Mm-hmm.
I think visually it's a very arresting film.
Was it a bother to you that it's tough to understand how far away from Rome they are when they're in Germania, where Maximus actually lives? Everyone calls him the Spaniard, but where he actually is supposed to be living? How far is he from Rome? How far is he from Germania?
Yeah, that's always been my issue, is how close he is from, like, Germania is obviously Germany and a couple of like the surrounding countries.
Chunk of Europe.
Back then. Yeah, it was a big chunk back then. But he's the Spaniard, but I don't know where he says he is. Like, I don't know where that town is. Like, he goes, I'm from the blah, 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 blah. And it's like, especially the Roman Empire is that big. I don't know where the hell that is. That could be in Greece. It could be in Rome. It could be in Italy. It could be, Rome is Italy, or now Italy. It could be in Spain. But he gets there awful quick. Like, he gets injured. He's almost half passed out. And yet somehow he just misses the people killing his family. Like, they're still kind of hanging there fresh. And it's kind of like, that's the big thing for me. Is like, I don't understand how close he was to his family. The other things, like how close Germania, or where they fought in Germania, was to Rome, and how far he was. Like, it doesn't matter how far he was when he gets captured, because he's captured, then he's brought to the Middle East, and then he's brought back to Rome. I was okay with that. But that initial part where he nearly outruns the people on 5 horsebacks while he's half passed out, that has always been a point where I was like, meh. Like, I get it. You want that kind of Luke Skywalker looking at Aunt Owen and or Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen scene and going like, oh. But I just think maybe it could have been done where it didn't seem like he was chasing them down. I don't know if you felt the same, or did you have a problem with like the other locations compared to Rome? Would you have liked an Indiana Jones map?
It would have been nice, but I don't think it probably wouldn't have made sense for the film. Or maybe like, you do. I mean, I don't know, because I've seen movies where they show like they do the big voiceover and they do like they show the map and they kind of like they zoom into Germania or something, and then you see this place.
Yeah.
Like, okay, but like that's just. I think it would be nice to know, but is it necessary for the plot of the film? Probably not. I mean, because that's not really why we're here. We're here to see him avenge his, wife and son's death and murder. And
yep.
Let's talk about the plot a little bit. One of the bigger differences, or one thing I noticed in this rewatch than before, is how fast it feels like he gets himself up, fights a couple battles, gets to Rome. He's fighting the Colosseum. He fights his first match. He meets the Emperor. Like, it just felt very quick. And I don't know if that's a negative or not. I just didn't realize how fast it was in that progression. What did you think of that?
I have the same note like that. I forgot how long it takes to get to that point, which I was fine with. I liked the buildup. I liked the scenes with oh my God, what's the emperor's name before Commodus? What's his father's name?
Marcus Aurelius.
Marcus Aurelius. I liked the scenes between, Commodus and Marcus Aurelius and Maximus. Like, those scenes are great. So like, I didn't necessarily go like, oh my God, can we get to the gladiating? Mm-hmm. But I had paused it at one point to get something to drink, and I looked at the TV and I was like, 35 minutes and we're still not gladiating. Like, I thought it was quicker to get there, but I have also the same note that, wow, this guy became famous for killing one dude basically.
Yeah.
And then yelling at the crowd. And then obviously, like you said, the emperor, I don't remember the emperor talking to him after the very first fight. I thought it took like 2 fights.
I thought so too. I for some reason just didn't equate that. Like, when they first get out there and they fight the chariots, and then boom, it's Commodus, and this is who I am. And like, all of a sudden, like, oh, okay. Like, it's almost like the ticking clock starts at that point, because you just know that, like, you just know, like, okay, here we go towards the end, which I want to talk about the ending. I want to talk about the plan. Maximus's plan.
It's very Rome. I really like his plan.
No. To get out, to escape and go get, like, his whole plan to escape and go find his men and then come back to Rome and to invade.
Right.
And then it's like, this is what we're doing. And then 5 minutes later into the movie, that's been thwarted, and we're not doing that anymore. Like, that's been stopped.
Yeah. What I don't understand is there's no one else who knew the plan. There's no way his men who are that loyal wouldn't come in and rescue him at that point.
Right.
Like, I would have liked maybe a mention of, we found out where the men were because, they tortured his friend a little bit more. We know where the men are. Our legions came and we wiped them out. We flanked them, so they're not coming anymore. Like, I would have liked that explanation, because 5,000 men are still waiting to stop an emperor that apparently no one's that loyal to.
Right. And it feels, it's not, I wouldn't say this doesn't fall into the exact definition of this, but it feels like a red herring a little bit. Like, this is what's going to happen. And then, oh, nope, never mind. Forget it. He's caught. And now we're at the final battle scene. And then the emperor has, I don't know how many guards he has. I mean, he must have like 200 guards, because
he's got those legionnaire. Yeah.
Yeah. They go and, arrest Gracchus, who's the one who's basically behind all this.
Right.
But then they go and kill Gaius, who has nothing to do with this plan. They go put the snake in his bed. So, like, the one senator that wasn't planning on doing anything. So I didn't understand that as well.
Gracchus is the money. I think Gracchus is alive because Lucilla is friends with him, and he still needs his kind of counsel in the Senate, and the other guy's more of a rabble rouser, so he could get rid of him, and it's not as big a deal. But Gracchus getting killed in the Senate would probably maybe have, he doesn't want to get, Julius Caesar has been stabbed by this point in history, so he doesn't want to be the next shanking in that.
How far though? How long?
If I remember correctly, Marcus Aurelius is a real emperor, but the timeline within this movie is all jumbled up. Commodus isn't real, and like some of that
Commodus
stuff. Like,
Commodus is real, but Commodus was 5 years old when he became emperor.
Right?
Yeah, no, none of this stuff that happens. The names are accurate, but none of that how it happens is not accurate.
Yeah, it all kind of exists in the abstract.
Right. Commodus was killed because I only know this because I was looking through the information. Commodus was killed by a masseuse called Narcissus because his girlfriend or wife found out that she was on a list of people Commodus was going to execute. So she got her boyfriend or husband who was the personal masseuse to strangle Commodus, to kill him. And they were going to name Maximus Narcissus. But then they changed that. So that's how I know that fact. I'm not a Roman Empire guy. That's just how I know that.
It's been a while since I looked all that stuff up, but I do know they kind of play around with history. So it's kind of like these people are real names, kind of, but also, we're going to do our own thing with it. But if we're talking Julius Caesar, it's still a while because then you have the war that happened afterward and Mark Antony happens. They mention Antony and Cleopatra. So we got to be talking at least 100 years because they mention how Rome hadn't been invaded by a troop in 100 years. So it's been at least 100 years since the Civil War.
Commodus is known as the emperor who kind of started the downfall of Rome. So he is known for that. He was somebody who liked games and he would go and he would actually fight. He would go into the arena and fight, but they would name all the gladiators. They'd name the gladiators so that like they couldn't fight him. Like he would basically have people go in and it was either you fight him with your wooden sword and lose, but if you hurt him, they're going to take you and torture you and kill you. So like you had to like just die. So like I know.
Oh, Rome, the good old days.
And I guess the other thing he would do is he would just stand up top and he would just hunt. They would just put animals in the Colosseum and he would just hunt them with a bow. He would just be on top and just shoot at them. And that was his thing.
Awesome.
That's our little history here. When Lucilla and Maximus are together, I kind of wanted to know the backstory about why they broke up, even though they talk about it, but they never really say it.
I mean, if you do that, see, I thought the same thing, especially since I think because I didn't know, like you brought up, I didn't know that the next story is what's his face's story?
Lucius. Yeah.
Lucius. I didn't know that guy at Gladiator 2 is Lucius. I didn't put two and two together from the trailers. I also haven't seen the final trailer, but I just knew that I thought he was Maximus's son because Connie Nelson does kind of hint at that in the trailer. So I was like, oh, well then, yeah. So I was like, oh, so then if that's his son, then maybe I don't remember the scene right. Are there not his son's legs when he's burning to death? Did he not see his son die? And then he did. So I'm like, wait, so is Lucius actually Maximus's illegitimate son? And
I mean, they're going to have to say that. They're going to have to say that in this movie. Yeah.
So maybe we'll know why they broke up.
Maybe, yeah. Like, but the other thing you talk about the son, which reminded me, he's run over by the horses, which is horrible.
Yeah.
But then he's hung. But then Commodus tells him that they nailed him to a cross.
I had the same note. It's like they were hanging; they weren't nailed. But, okay.
And I wonder, this takes me to my next point. I wonder if that is a reflection of the fact that this script wasn't ready. When they greenlit this movie, the script wasn't done. There has been countless behind the scenes stories of issues with the script and revisions and rewrites
stuff
and
taken out.
Right. And just kind of even Russell Crowe was rewriting stuff.
Well, because he didn't like the fact, like one of his big complaints was, which I love, and I hope it's in Gladiator 2. There was in real life, there are gladiators that became a big deal, like athletes now, and they're on billboards and they're selling and shilling products. So there was a scene originally written where Maximus becomes the face of an olive oil brand. And Russell Crowe's like, this is ridiculous. No one's going to believe this. This doesn't happen. And it's like, it's historically accurate. It absolutely does happen. But Russell Crowe was like, I don't want to do this. EVO. If I don't have extra virgin on my bread, I don't want it. The general who became a slave, the slave who became a gladiator, the gladiator who told you about the best damn olive oil this side of the Mediterranean.
Became the greatest olive oil salesman in the Roman Empire has ever seen. Hey, I'm a gladiator. Anyways, one of the quotes I saw from Russell Crowe when he's talking about the script, that he was talking to one of the writers. I don't remember which one. I think it was Nicholson. He was like, he says something like, I'm one of the greatest actors in the world, and I can't make this work. This is garbage. Like, there was that like little line there, and I'm just like, oof, Russell. I mean, I love you, but come on, man. But I mean, maybe he was feeling himself. He was a big time. He's still a big star.
This was right after LA Confidential, so he was
super
like,
hot. Yeah, no, absolutely. So it was just like that line kind of took me back a little bit. I was like, oof, all right, man. Okay, I guess you're going to throw that out there. Let's talk about Russell Crowe. Straight up, do you think that he deserved the Oscar for this film?
I mean, I love this film. So yeah, but
sure.
You're going to have to tell me who he was up against, because obviously I don't remember.
That's not why, but I will. So he was up against Javier Bardem in Before Night Falls, Tom Hanks in Castaway, Ed Harris in Pollock, and Jeffrey Rush in Quills. Now, I liked Ed Harris in Pollock, and that almost feels like that's an Oscar film, but that's fine. I think Russell Crowe has even said this. He said that he doesn't think he really deserved it because he always used Gladiator as more of a director film, not an actor's film, that it's more showcases what the director would do. And in that regard, I can understand what he's saying. I mean, everyone who nominated deserves to win, and I'm just curious. I just want to have the conversation.
I guess I don't necessarily see. All right, so I would go Tom Hanks in Castaway. I think he's awesome in Castaway, but so is Jeffrey Rush in Quills.
Sure.
But I think Tom Hanks, straight up, like, come on, he acted by himself with himself, and he made you care about a freaking soccer ball. Come on,
volleyball.
What?
Wilson's a volleyball.
Oh, he is a volleyball, but like, come on, like that's ridiculous. But I get it. He's been nominated. He's like the Meryl Streep of actors. Like, he just gets nominated so many times. You can't give him every Oscar.
I mean, I'm shocked that he didn't. I did not know that Russell Crowe. I thought Russell Crowe won for A Beautiful Mind.
Yeah, so did I. He didn't.
I know. He didn't. That's not what I'll look it up. What year was that?
2001.
2001. So the 2002 Academy Awards. It's always the year after.
No, I meant Beautiful Mind was only a year after.
Yeah. No, you know who won? Denzel for Training Day. Okay, never mind.
That makes sense.
But still, like, I always thought A Beautiful Mind was a more of an actor performance than maybe this film was. But not taking anything away from this film.
I don't think that takes away. Like, he's still powerful. He's still commanding. It's still like, this is like a film like LA Confidential is great and shows like, oh yeah, Russell Crowe. This is the film where he's like, Russell Crowe.
Yeah, sure.
So, like, in that, like, okay, give him the Oscar for that, I guess. But to combat, I guess, against, or my argument against it being just a director's film, is Joaquin Phoenix's performance as Commodus was amazing. When I saw it in 2000, I was like, wow, that's acting. And like, I remember that. And that's like, I remember that performance being kind of formative in, not like I knew I wanted to be an actor back in 2000, but I was still interested, and I was still wanting to do plays and writing my own little movies and stuff. And I think that's one of the first performances where I really paid attention to, like, wow, acting can be like powerful and like not just action star kind of powerful. Like, that's like one of the first performances that really like was like, wow, that's a performance, which I know Joaquin Phoenix didn't even want to be in the movie also.
I think Joaquin Phoenix has probably a lot of anxiety about just kind of seeing himself on screen, being part of that. I think he which is, I get that. I mean, a lot of people are like that. So I think that all stems from his own personal anxiety.
Sure. I also get his trepidation when he says he first stepped on set and saw all the different actors and like how big the set was and the extras. Like, that's intimidating.
Sure.
Your first big movie with 800 people on set watching your first performance.
Did you see the note where he was putting on weight? Because
No, I didn't see that one.
So as the movie started, then I guess Ridley Scott and Daly's noticed that he was putting on weight, and he told him, he said, "You're putting on, what's going on here?" And he's like, Phoenix was like, "Well, I thought since I became emperor, like I was content, so I would just put on weight. I thought that would be good." But like, he never told Scott he was going to do this. No, we're not doing that. So he had to stop eating while he was shooting the movie to kind of, and it's funny because you do kind of see scenes where he looks thinner than he does in other scenes. Right. You do kind of see that. So I thought that was interesting. So yeah, I kind of like that idea though. Like, that's not bad. But tell your director.
Oh yeah, you should
do that.
talk it out. That's like who just came out and said, "Oh, Ryan Gosling gained 80 pounds to play the dad in Lovely Bones," and he didn't tell Guillermo del Toro. And he was like, what do you think? And he's like, no, what? Get out. He's like, you're fat. Yeah, it's great, right? No, you're fired. Get me Mark Wahlberg.
That's unfortunate because they probably should have used Ryan Gosling there.
Nothing could have saved that film.
Ouch. Speaking of actors, did you see the note about Oliver Reed? So Oliver Reed is, we talked about him. I know. We talked about him a lot in Burnt Offerings. Oliver Reed obviously drank a lot, and he was very, not just with drinking, but he was very, what's the word? Contentious on sets a lot. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Always looking to fight somebody.
So the scene when he grabs the guy's testicles, did you see that note? Oh my God, I love this note. So right before they're filming this, so the scene is basically a guy comes over and he's trying to sell him gladiators, and he's like, he grabs him by his groin, and he's just because he screwed him and stuff like that. Right before they film the scene together, Reed turns to the actor who is Omid Jalili, excuse me.
The guy from The Mummy.
Exactly. And he goes, "Are you a method actor?" And they call action, and he squeezes him. He grabs him by the testicles for real during the take. And then they go on. It was just like, oh my God. It's like, can you, like, what do you do there?
You laugh it off and then go ice them afterward and hope they got it in the first take.
That's awesome. And also, oof, that's not good.
No, he didn't last through production long enough to get canceled.
Yeah. So, obviously Oliver Reed passed away during the film, and I didn't realize that it changed a couple other things in the movie. So I didn't know if you saw this, but obviously you talk about the scene where they maps his face on a stunt guy when he's giving the keys to Maximus. They were actually supposed to fight. One of the Commodus before the final battle forces Maximus to fight Proximo in the Colosseum. So basically to having him kill him. So that was supposed to be in the movie, but they had to rewrite that out once he passed away. When Juba, Hanzu's character, buries the figures in the sand at the Colosseum, that actually was supposed to be Oliver Reed as well. It was supposed to be Proximo who did that, not Juba. So they had to rewrite that and rework that dialogue. So there were a couple things that changed because of that untimely death, which I didn't realize. I just always thought like they just had that one scene they had to finish and that was it. So I didn't realize it changed a lot of stuff plot-wise.
Yeah, I kind of like him getting just assassinated a lot more than that. I think that I don't know if I'd like that final fight scene where, especially if he survives and Proximo, like Russell Crowe throws his sword down again, essentially. And it's like, I saw that. It already doesn't need to happen. And I think Juba being the one that says, I think that last line from Juba is a great line because it harkens back to their conversation they had earlier in the movie. So it's
a happy accident. I don't really know what that fight would have entailed. I'm sure, I think it probably would have been he had to kill him in order to, it's like one of those like strike me down kind of thing. I don't know. Who knows?
Well, then how is he burying the figures at the end?
Yeah, I know. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe he didn't then. Yeah, I don't have no idea what to tell you. I just know that it was changed.
Both things happened because they didn't know what they were doing when they were writing.
He was a ghost and he came down with the figures and he buried them. But also, let's be honest, Juba didn't really bury them that deep because he puts them down there and you can still see the heads and he puts his hands down there so you don't see it anymore. It's like, I know what you did. You didn't bury it, dig even a big enough hole.
Good enough.
All right, so we talked about the acting a little bit. I don't know if you want to talk about anyone else in terms of Connie Nielsen. Did you like her and
I mean,
Joaquin Phoenix's chemistry?
I think their chemistry? You mean their lack of chemistry and his super creepiness?
Let me know.
Oh, yeah. The creepiness was amazing. I mean, right off the bat, you're like, his first scene when they're in the carriage, you're kind of like, you'll go a little... That am I picking up what I think I'm picking up here?
But honestly,
and then as it goes, it's just like, oh wow.
But honestly, all this nobility back in the day,
back then, it's not surprising.
Incestuous. It's all like that, and it's just like, ugh.
That's why half the emperors were crazy,
right? Because obviously they don't want to, have impure bloodlines, but also you're only hanging out with your family.
Same people, yeah.
Yeah, you are not like, it's not like, hey, I'm going to go hit the club. It's not that. So
gotta hit the club. I hear there's a new olive oil out.
and let's be honest. I mean, like they're off like, so like as you're growing up in a noble household, you're sent off to school. You're sent off to different areas. You don't see your sister and your brother for years sometimes or months. And so, yeah, but it's all like that back then. It's just like, oh,
yep. But I think it's really well done. I think that I really like, and I don't remember this, when Drusilla first finds Marcus Aurelius's body and Maximus has walked off and she slaps Commodus. And it's like, oh, because she knows. But then she immediately takes his hand because she knows that she has to keep her son safe.
Right.
So I was like, I like that a lot. That kind of, and Commodus knows she knows, and Commodus knows he's got that hold over her.
Right.
And he hopes that it's got to be something different, but it never will be. But I think that's played really well. I think she does a really good job. I always liked Marcus Aurelius. I liked Richard Harris as Marcus Aurelius. He's the emperor you want as your emperor, that emperor that never really existed, that kind of knight in shining armor, like that King Arthur of emperors. But it's hard to hear him and not hear Dumbledore now when he's giving what sage advice. And I just hear Dumbledore.
Yeah, but here's the only other thing with the Aurelius is so smart. He had to have known that giving this edict to
a psychopath.
Not to Maximus is
right.
And then telling Commodus is going to put everything in jeopardy. I mean, there's a
how
way
would you
to
not
do
have it in writing? You didn't give it to a trusted advisor or anything like that.
Right. This is such an important decision. I want to do this. This is very important to me. I'm just going to tell you and let this guy know, and we'll see what happens. Well, you don't think you'd safeguard that information a little bit more? Like, so. Yeah. I mean, that felt like for plot purposes. I get it, but and this movie is not the only movie to do stuff like this. You know what I mean? It's never. This is not in all these movies. Yeah. So it's just it's so out of character for somebody.
I can think of like
so
Knives Out is like a recent one where it's kind of like, oh, we don't know who changed the will and stuff. Well, it's like right there. Yeah. Why wouldn't you have it all in writing, kind of a thing, before like a power changes hands?
Right.
Even back in ancient Rome, it's like. Yes, it was thousands of years ago, but they were a very advanced society with rules. Mm-hmm. Like you have to drop contracts and stuff like that. It wouldn't just be, I got your word. All right, spit shake on it, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. They're basically, democracy. Well, not when they get the emperors, but when they go back to the Senate, they end up being that way. But yeah, no.
Right.
Would you have liked this film if Mel Gibson was Maximus? Because he was offered the role, turned it down because he said he was too old for it. He was 43 at the time. Russell Crowe was 35.
I'd have to. What does 43-year-old Mel Gibson look like? What was a movie he did then?
Braveheart was when? 96, 97?
96 or 97. So 3 years after that. I mean, I could.
When's Lethal Weapon 4? That's probably sometime around there.
That's probably close to it. Yeah, he might be. I mean.
I think the problem with him, I don't think it's his age for taking this role. I think the problem is that he is William Wallace.
He's Mel Gibson.
He's also William Wallace. And that's the big grandiose, big role that he's
so you would just be like, oh, he's just doing another big
I think you would undoubtedly compare Maximus to William Wallace. And I think William Wallace was his film, his big epic, his big kind of Gladiator style film. I don't think you want to do another one like that.
No. But also, if you're talking about how it's like a director's film,
sure.
All of a sudden you put Mel Gibson in it. It's no longer, a Ridley Scott film. It's no longer Gladiator. True. Now it's Mel Gibson as Gladiator.
I guess you. So you're saying Gibson is so big that his presence would overshadow the movie itself.
Right. Which is something I'm kind of a little afraid Denzel Washington will do in Gladiator 2. Although I'm really excited to see him in Gladiator.
I don't know,
like,
because
he is such a presence in everything he's in.
But you've got two young actors in this film that are pretty popular that are going to bring a young audience that I don't know if they're going there for Denzel. We're going there for Denzel. We're going there because he's in it too, obviously, and because of Gladiator too. But like, I think because you have two young actors in Mescal, and I'm blanking on the other dude's name already. What's the kid's name?
Guy from Stranger Things.
Guy from Stranger Things.
Isn't that who plays the? That's who plays the crazy kid, the bad guy.
Guy from Stranger Things. Well, Pedro Pascal's in it too. Oh, hey, Spencer Clark is in it. Joseph Quinn. Joseph Quinn. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, but I think people are there for that. I forgot that Pascal was in it. I'm getting too old for this shit.
Pedro Pascal is the other Gladiator or something.
So I'm sure he's the one that gives him sage advice about something and then dies 40 minutes into the film or something like that. So yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I guess that's your concern about Denzel overshadowing, but I don't think so. He's going to be in Black Panther 3. He just said Ryan Coogler was writing him a role for Black Panther 3.
Better be as the Black Panther.
I was just going to say, is it going to be that? Because that's fine.
Flashback to like the 1900s Black Panther.
He's like, I'm the Black Panther now.
Get out of here.
They're going to de-age him.
King Kong ain't got shit. No,
I have not seen Training Day in forever.
I was thinking the same thing the other day. I was like, I really want to rewatch it.
Well, I don't know. I was going to start telling you movies I watched before. I don't know why I'm doing that. All right. I wanted to get to a couple. I did not get you full-time reviews. I just got you a couple like comments.
Okay.
And definitely from your pal Ebert, but I'll save that one. So Ian Nathan of Empire Magazine called the dialogue, quote, pompous, overwritten, and prone to plain silliness. Oh yeah, I got you bad ones.
I disagree. It's a historical epic. It's supposed to be grand. They're not supposed to talk like you and me. They're supposed to be these larger than life historical, like kind of figures. Like you're reading it out of a history book, like you're reading it out of, the Iliad or something like that. I think that's the way it's purposely written. And I think a lot of the lines are great. Am I not merciful?
Which was an ad lib.
The slave who became, was it? Like, that's great.
The yelling part was the ad lib. So I guess he screams in her face and her reaction supposedly is genuine.
But like the slave who became a gladiator, blah, blah, blah. Maximus's whole speech to the emperor is great. Like it's got some great lines. A lot of the stuff the emperor says, I wrote down a whole list of lines I liked, but I don't have them right in front of me. But like, I think, I think the dialogue is the way the dialogue is supposed to be. And I think that's on purpose and it works if you think of it that way. But if you want it to be more realistic and modern, then it's going to be it's purposely overdone, I think.
Well, it's in
my opinion. I don't know. Yeah,
the movie's an epic, so the dialogue I think matches that flair. He'll bring them death and they will love him for it. Like it matches
Shakespearean,
that flair. Yes, and I think that's what you want. You want that kind of dialogue. So I think that fits. Maybe Ian Nathan wanted something different. I don't know. I know that Ebert said the script, quote, employs depression as a substitute for personality and believes that if characters are bitter and morose enough, we won't notice how dull they are, end quote. For those who are not watching and who are listening to the podcast episode, Butler's giving the finger to me, basically. Double finger. Two birds. Flipping two birds at me.
Giving the finger to the soul of Roger Ebert. Come on, man.
So he's basically going after Maximus and his depression, his kind of, because he's down, and he's going after that, saying that they're substituting his sadness for some kind of personality. But he's vengeance. He's trying to. He's got one thought, and that's killing Commodus.
His wife and child were murdered. I'm sorry that you don't care about anything in this world, Ebert, except for your critical movie reviews. Like, that's stupid. That's just, come on. Like, what do you want him to be? He's a general, a battle-hardened general. He's not going to be like, do you want him to wink at the camera and say one-liners?
Yes.
Is he the Martin Riggs of depressed warriors?
Yippee-ki-yay. That's from Die Hard. I know it's not from Lethal Weapon, everyone. What did you think of the score?
I love the score. One of my notes is like, in the beginning, I'm like, the score slaps. I love the score.
The score is great. does the fact that it's basically ripped off of when he does Pirates of the Caribbean, because he pulls straight up Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah. So does that affect? Does that hurt this score?
It hurt me. It hurt me inside when because there are other themes in this movie. There are like 3 themes that play. But yeah, that's like the action theme. And Elise came home from work while I was watching one of the scenes where that played, and she's like, "Oh, that's the Pirates theme." And I go, "That fuck, it's not. That's the Gladiator theme.
Straight up
Gladiator came first, but it's his own music." And you know, I can't say that John Williams doesn't do the same thing. I think I said in another episode, I had rewatched episode 1 and Harry Potter close together, and it's like, okay, there's a lot of Phantom Menace and Harry Potter in each other. But yeah, it's straight up like maybe a 2-note difference for this movie.
He completely lifts the score from this to that series.
It's like he was late with his homework and decided to just rip himself off. I wrote this report. It sounds the same.
So side note, one of the episodes we just did on our main show, I can't remember, we talked about the movies that came out around the time. And remember we talked about Terminal Velocity. I went and watched the trailer for Terminal Velocity. You have to watch it. Write this down. They use the music from Aliens in that trailer, but they don't.
They?
But it's like it's almost like in a different key. Like you're watching the trailer and you're just like, why do I know this music? And then you just start listening. You're like, God damn, they just stole this. And obviously, because probably the same company, they do that a lot. But still, I just thought it was really like, oh, come on.
I rarely ever comment on YouTube, and a game that I play all the time just released a trailer for a new event. And it's straight up, it's a space game, but they straight up stole the score from Prometheus. And there's like I'm like, that sounds like Prometheus. And it ends with the full sweeping thing. And I'm like, this is the Prometheus score. And I commented, and it got like a ton of likes. And they were like, oh yeah, I didn't even notice. And it's just
right. Yeah.
Not the game company didn't say that. All the people watching it. Yeah. They're not going to admit to that.
Jeez.
Yeah. People steal the music. They're like, that theme. All right.
Oh boy.
But that's it's a great score for Gladiator.
Yeah, no, I just wonder, because I just know it's like we just talked about. It's Pirates of the Caribbean, is basically that. It just took it from it. And I was just wondering if it affected your view of this one. I mean, does it affect your view of the Pirates theme because it's the same, or you're just like.
I had forgotten how close they were. The last time I saw Pirates wasn't that long ago. But now, yeah, I'm like, that kind of, I did like the Pirates score a lot, but now it's just like, it's kind of just Gladiator.
So needless to say, we both like this film. I know Mike likes it. I know we kind of went at it a little bit, but in terms of at the movie itself.
Well, otherwise, it's just going to be a love fest.
Of course. And I don't think it's one of those films. I think it's not a perfect film. I think it definitely got little flaws here. And I think that has to do a lot with the behind the scenes stuff where the script wasn't ready. And I think it was probably just great luck that they got everything together. It had 12 nominations and won 5. So I think that it's definitely a classic film. It's always going to be talked about. I'm wondering, I look forward to Gladiator 2. I hope that it doesn't hurt the first film in any way. I hope it's good. I can't stand the hype machine that's happening, that people are just like, oh, it's so good. Just let me watch the film. Stop telling me how great it is. Let me watch the film.
Early reviews are good, but
early reviews don't mean shit to me. That stuff does not mean anything to me.
But Ebert's negativity does.
Listen, Butler, early reviews are because those people are given permission to see the movie first because they're giving favorable reviews. They sold their souls for those reviews. Okay. But anyways, I digress. So I'm interested to see it. I'm a little concerned that he's writing Gladiator 3. I just, I'd like to see.
Is he?
Yeah, I read that he's got an idea and he's writing it. So, but I think my interest peaked when I found out there is some connection to this first film. So I was like, okay, I'm cool with this.
I liked in the trailer that he's wearing Maximus's armor because Lucilla's like, this is Maximus's armor. But now that I know that it's Lucius, I'm kind of like a little more intrigued, but also a little more scared that they're forcing a Maximus through line that I don't think needs to be there. Rome lasted for hundreds of years. Why do we have to hone in on this one little subsection of Rome?
Why not?
But we'll see.
We'll see.
Listen, Denzel's in it, so I'm all right.
There you go. We're big fans.
Denzel trying to overthrow Rome. You got me.
Hey, I'm all down for that.
Is Hans Zimmer doing the score again?
Oh, I don't know.
Hope so.
I'm sure they're going to use the score from the movie. You want to look it up?
I'm already on there.
Well, so am I.
And Harry Gregson Williams.
Oh no, Butler.
Oh,
Maybe Hans Zimmer's retired.
I don't think so. He just did.
Connie Nielsen has first billing. Yikes!
I saw that.
She must die in the beginning. I mean,
you can only plot against emperors for so long.
Exactly. I'm trying to see if there's anyone else that I know in this. I don't know. Okay, so so I think we're interested. Thank you for this is a lead up. So yes, thank you for being a member of our Patreon, right, Butler?
Yes. Although this will come out for everyone else eventually.
Oh, right. Yeah. So
timed exclusives
a little later. We obviously provide these lead up for our Patreon subscribers, our Patreon members, and then we leave it for the public a little time later. I'm not sure what the deadline, the date delay is.
I don't think we figured it out. I kind of like the idea of putting it out right before the digital release.
Oh, that's cool. So yeah, so hopefully you'll kind of, latch onto this, see what we thought about the first film. I think I would always recommend to go watch the first one again and then do a double feature or something like that. Who doesn't love a double feature? So thank you for watching us. Thank you for listening to what we thought about this film. We hope you enjoy Gladiator 2 if and when you see it. I don't have anything else. Mike, do you have anything else to
add? If you're watching this afterward, check out our Patreon. Check out our other episodes where when we're recording this, we're knee deep into season 19.
Yep.
Winter is coming. So check out all those episodes. Check out our old Forgotten Horror episodes.
We've got a couple
a lot of great stuff
too.
coming.
Yep.
And our next lead up is going to be
what is it going to be?
The Nosferatu movie with Willem Dafoe.
Oh, we're watching that?
That's what you wrote down, yeah.
Shadow the Vampire.
I always think Dark Shadows. I'm like, nope, that's the show.
Oh, we are not watching Dark Shadows.
Oh, that's a terrible movie.
The movie, yeah. No. Yes, because we will be doing it now, showing Nosferatu. I'm a little scared. I don't want to be scared in this film, but I think I'm going to be scared. It looks a little creepy, Butler.
It does look a little creepy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to be frightened. Is this an IMAX? Is Nosferatu an IMAX?
They're making a big deal out of it, so it might be.
God, I can't stand when they shove things in IMAX that don't need to be in IMAX. I mean, that's not an IMAX film. That's not going to be busy. We don't have time for your
soapbox. It'll be busy. It's a Christmas movie.
The Christmas movie, Wicked's going to be busy. That should be in the IMAX. That'll be in the IMAX.
That's a Thanksgiving movie, so that's coming out next week or the week after. Right?
That'll be out through the entire month of December.
Yeah.
That'll be busy.
Gladiator's probably only going to get a week in IMAX.
Probably not. Probably. All right. That's it. Thank you. I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema Lead Up. Take care.
What we do in life echoes in eternity.
Cool.